The Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I want to take the opportunity in this Prime Minister's debate to range over a few areas. The first I'd like to deal with is the increasing desperation of the Prime Minister to the point where he has returned Peter Dunn to his ministry, and the error that he has made in giving Peter Dunn the responsibility for information security and the oversight of the Chief Information Officer. Mr Speaker, in the House today, the Honourable Peter Dunn refused to deny being the leak or the person who made the draft Kitteridge report available to the Don Post. Mr Speaker, I think 99% of New Zealanders who have considered this issue agree with the Prime Minister that Mr Dunn was the source of that leak, or at least the Prime Minister in 2013. He thinks that these things might change over time. Mr Speaker, New Zealanders have to have confidence that the information that they are giving to the government is going to be held properly secure. And to do that, the person who has political responsibility and oversight of the government's Chief Information Officer has to be seen to be above reproach, beyond reproach. And, Mr Speaker, Peter Dunn cannot be in that category. So what we have now, I mean, occasionally, poachers term gamekeepers. The example of Trevor DeClean in the taxation area is one that I know well. He was, a lawyer who used every tax rort that was around, and then became in those days, an undersecretary in a government, and closed them all up again. Now that was good. But the difference with Trevor DeClean was that he fronted up. He was honest. He was straightforward. He admitted what he had been doing in rorting. And what we have in the House today is Peter Dunn not being prepared to stand up and take responsibility for his actions in leaking or to deny it. Now, I'll say to Peter Dunn, I'm 99% certain that he leaked it, but I've worked with him for a long time. And my experience with him is that he tells the truth in the House. And if he came into the House and denied it, I'm sure the House would accept his word. But my challenge to him, and it is a challenge that we will be putting on a regular basis to him, because that's the good thing about question time, there's the ability to hold ministers responsible for their current responsibilities, and we will be asking him why New Zealanders should trust him to keep their information secure when he leaked the draft Kitteridge report into the Government Communications Security Bureau. It's a relatively simple area, and, Mr Speaker, what is a more important area, and it sits in behind it, is how is it possible that the Prime Minister gives information security to Peter Dunn? Now, sitting opposite is Maurice Williamson. Maurice has almost certainly forgotten more about information security than most people in the House have ever known. He's someone who's had a lot of experience in the area. I think he had one little lapse with information security himself back in it must have been back in about 1990 when he left some floppy disks down the back of his couch. Oh no, it was a change of government time. Time of change of government, and the floppy disks had the National Party canvassing system on them, and a letter that he wrote asking to be let off a speeding fine because of alleged urgent public business when he was in opposition. The problem was that soon after that he became Minister of Transport, and it was slightly embarrassing at the time. But I think the member knows now to be very careful what he does on couches. Very careful what he does on couches to ensure that those floppy disks, not that they, I suppose, the things don't get lost down the back of the couch. Mr. Speaker. So that is one area. The one other area that has to do with Peter Dunn that I want to express some concerns about is the apparent reincarnation in the area of Associate Minister of Health and his responsibility for psychoactive substances. Mr. Speaker, I think if there was an area that the House got badly wrong last year, it was that psychoactive substances area. And it was to effectively decriminalise there. Mr. Speaker, I voted for it, so I got it wrong. But Peter Dunn is the minister responsible for the legislation. Over the break, I did a half-page ad in the Hutt News, and included in it was a question about whether people thought that legal highs should be totally banned. Mr. Speaker, the view was unanimous. There was not a person in the hut who returned that survey form who thought that the current law with legal highs was right. And, Mr. Speaker, sorry? What I'm saying is that I'm saying we've got it wrong. And I think Mike Sabin's endorsement of legal highs that we're hearing across the House now is something which is disgraceful. Something which is disgraceful. Mr. Speaker, I think that area has to be reviewed. The law cannot last, and I hope that we will get National Party support on that. Mr. Speaker, I'll now move to the question of the flag. As Internal Affairs spokesperson, I have quite a lot of interest in this from a Labor Party perspective. Mr. Speaker, I think that the flag should be changed. I agree with my colleagues who know that John Key has brought it up as a diversion, but the things about diversions only work when people don't work out it's a diversion. This diversion is so transparent, everyone can see through it, that it won't fool anyone. So we might as well get on with the debate. My view is that we should change. My view is that we can do it like we did the anthem. I don't know if there's anyone else in the House who can remember standing up for God Save the Queen in the theatres. That's what we used to do. But most people will be surprised to know that God Save the Queen is still the national anthem for New Zealand. God Save the Queen is still one of the two national anthems for New Zealand. And what we decided to do many years ago was to have two. And over a period of time, one of them fell into disuse. God Save the Queen. I think they bring it out every now and again when a royal arrives or when one of our ships goes into a UK port, but that's about the limit of it. I think we should do the same with the flag. My view is that, if we're talking about the Olympics, we're talking about national sporting teams, of course they want a flag that doesn't look like Australia. I've been to enough Commonwealth and Olympic Games to know that we've got to have something which is distinctive and different. But, Mr. Speaker, if the RSA in Lower Hutt wants to fly the current ensign, the New Zealand flag, the current New Zealand flag, when they parade, who should stop them? Who should stop? I agree it's a diversion. Everyone knows it's a diversion, Mr. Speaker, but let's just get on with the change. Mr. Speaker, the last point I will make is that we are now seeing the effects in our economy and in our society of the education cuts presided over by Anne Tolley when she was Minister of Education and cut early childhood education, and Minister of Tertiary Education, and at that time she cut industry training. We are suffering as a result of that. We are having, Michael Woodhouse is having to work a little harder than he's used to, approving all the immigration permits for people to come to New Zealand because 5 years ago the National Party cut the training that would have meant that Kiwis could do the jobs that Michael Woodhouse is now importing people from around the world to do.
Order. I understand the next call is a split call. 5 minutes, Jan Logie.